Hi, everyone. Welcome to Courageous Parenting Summit. I'm Edith Wallach, transformational leadership coach, mother of 3 children, and Amazon best-selling book author. Our vision is to empower parents and children by building connection with love.
Hello, everyone. I am Filza Jabeen, mother of 3 beautiful children, author of a book, team leadership coach, and parenting coach. And today we have here with us Dr. Wendi McKenna. Welcome, Wendy.
Hi, everyone. Great to see you, Filza and Edith, and all of you here.
Hi, Wendi. Lovely to have you here. Thank you for your generosity of your time and knowledge and all the gifts that you are going to support us and our parents here. So let me read your bio. Dr. Wendi McKenna is a pediatric physical therapist and transformational leadership trainer, parenting coach, and a mother of 3. She is passionate about supporting parents and children for the last 25 years. Wendy's clinical expertise and understanding of movement, cognitive, and emotional development gives her unique perspective and knowledge base to support families. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So, Wendy's topic, when I asked her, what is your topic? And she said, trust. You are your child's perfect partner. How did you come across this title, Wendy?
I came across this title, Filza, because I asked you what your vision was for this summit and all of the experts that you get to are masters of their craft or, humans that care and love about other humans who you get to talk to. And in hearing your vision, it was very clear to me that what parents get to hear in being empowered to be the best parent they can be and be the person who knows their child the best is to actually trust that that's the case. And so, of course we get to have support from all sorts of different humans, especially those that really truly love us and have the best interest of our kids. And you also get to understand as the parent that when you have the tools to get to know your child and you have the tools to really listen to what's occurring underneath what you're hearing and what you're seeing, that you are absolutely their perfect partner and their best advocate. And so when you trust that, you can go into any challenging situation and know that you're going to get through the other side, even if it's hard in the moment. And when you trust that, then your child trusts you. And when your child trusts you, even if it's challenging in the moment, even if it's tricky, even if it's looking really bad, you've got this unbreakable bond and connection through that trust that you two in partnership will get through to the other side. And so that's how I came up with the topic.
Fantastic. A perfect title. Thank you for that. So Wendy, can you share with us and our audience your personal story?
Yes. I mean, where do you want me to get started? So my personal story, when I was growing up, my mom shared with me, and I don't know if these were her exact words, but this was the message that I got. Wendy, your job is to discover what you love and follow it with passion, pursue it with passion. And so I trusted what I loved and I pursued it, even if it was different than what every other road people were taking. I was told that I was crazy for going left versus right. But I said, but left is where I want to be. And left is calling to me. So let's go that direction. And I mean, I've shifted my career when a lot of people were naysayers, but I understood the calling in my heart was stronger than anything that I knew. And so I got to follow that. And so my life path has been anything but straight. It is hills and valleys and circles and switchbacks and U-turns. And what's so beautiful about that process is that it's not about the destination, it's about how I'm being and what I'm experiencing on the journey of that path. And when I think about the journey of life, I don't want it to be some concrete jungle superhighway that's just straight. I want to go meandering through the woods and through the mountaintops and through the fields. And that is precisely what I've created. And along the way, have intersected with incredible human beings that I wouldn't have otherwise. I have been able to stop and smell the flowers, which a lot of people forget to do, and have really slowed down in my approach to being with my kids and being with my husband, because there's no place to get. We're already there. And so whatever comes, I get to be with that. And my expertise with physical therapy has supported me with how movement and posture really supports that path. And my work in transformational leadership has supported me in really understanding cognitive and emotional development on another level, so that I can now combine those two career paths into really serving at my highest level. And it's my highest level today, which is going to be low compared to where I am in 5 and 10 years, which is what's so exciting. It's like, oh, I don't know where I'm going to be in 5 or 10 years, but I know it's going to be higher than it is now. And right now it's fantastic. So, long story short, I have followed my heart. I have trusted my calling, and it has never led me astray.
Yeah.
How did that support you with when you started creating your family and you've noticed different things happening, different issues?
Well, as we all know, when we become a mother, it changes our world, changes our life, and it transforms us completely. And when I had my first daughter 18 years ago, I was in my career path as a pediatric doctor of physical therapy. So I had been working with babies. I had been working with children and families for, I think at that point, close to 6 or 7 years. So by no means a master clinician, but definitely also not a novice. And we had a rough birth. I, baby crashed during our process. And when she was born blue. And the NICU nurses were there. And I got to birth her head. And then they said, stop. And they had to deep suction her. And through my head was like, oh my gosh, this is the story of every child who comes to see me for therapy. This is the story of every child who I know who's got cerebral palsy. I don't want a child with cerebral palsy. Like, I was so scared and afraid and of what was going to happen. And she pinked up, and then we had another incident that night where she was jaundiced, so she got to be under the billy lights, and she had those eye goggles on to protect her eyes, and she was in the room with me. And I was exhausted because I'd been in labor for more than 24 hours, and my husband had gone home to go change or get food or whatever, so I was alone. And I fell asleep, and I woke up, and I looked over at her, and the eye goggles had not only just come off of her eyes, blinding her, but it was over her nose and mouth, literally suffocating her. And I mean, I ran to the isolette and I grabbed her, and I just burst into tears because I'm like, I almost just killed my baby. Like, who in this world can trust me to be a mother if I can't even keep her safe while I'm in a hospital? So I went through that fear of being a mom, being in charge of this newborn, and having no training and no manual. And I know people tell you that they try to tell you what you get to know, but either we don't hear it all or we're not ready to hear it all. We always go back and look at, like, why didn't they tell me? It's like, why didn't I know this? And it may have been that people did try. We just weren't ready to hear it. It also could be that it wasn't an answer that we were looking for. So even if it was right in front of us, it was blind to us. And then there are certain things where you can't know it until you experience it. And so, here I was experiencing this intense fear of, am I good enough? Am I going to be able to do this? What if I screw it up? I already screwed it up. you know, who's gonna trust me, leave me with this child? So through becoming a mother, I got to work through those fears. And I saw firsthand how my fears brought fear into the relationship, and how my fears got bigger and manifested bigger. And I'm like, I don't want my life to be run by fear. What else is there? And that's when I learned how to shift through work, through transformation, that the opposite of love isn't hate. The opposite of love is fear. So I had been living in fear, blocking love. And it's like, no, 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 I don't want to do that. I want love. I want love. And so I learned how to love. I learned how to love myself. I learned how to trust myself. I learned how to love my daughter. And through that, I may have been making some of the same choices that I did while being in these relationships. But when the come from is love, it feels so different. It feels expansive. It feels joyful. Even in the hard moments, it feels hopeful. And so I don't know if I've really answered your question here, but being a mom and being a parent, when I shifted from fear to love, and it took work to do that, the inner work, we always talk about the inner work. Everything changed in our family. Everything.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. And I just want to take you to the topic really our viewers want to hear, like being a pediatric physical therapist. How can you just explain about it, how physical therapy can help children with ADHD and neurodivergent kids?
Yeah. So I not only have worked with them, but my children also have some of the characteristics of ADHD. I think if I were actually diagnosed or gone through an evaluation, I'd probably have it too. so the beautiful thing about being a pediatric physical therapist is that we work in a team. We work in a team of pediatric PT, pediatric occupational therapy or OT, and pediatric speech therapy or speech language pathologists. I've also had the opportunity to work with social workers and nurses and developmental pediatricians and all of these specialties that most people don't even know exist if you don't have a child who has some neurodivergence and, additional needs. Where physical therapy comes in is we look at posture and movement. And when we think about posture and movement, it's like, well, of course, we have a skeleton, we have muscles, and we stand up against gravity and we move from point A to point B. It's what we do. So when we have kiddos who have some neurodivergence and ADHD, a lot of times when you look at them move, you're like, oh, they're moving fantastic. They're moving too much, right? So we don't need PT. We don't need PT. But when a PT works with an occupational therapist to work with the motor system and the sensory system, we can devise a plan of what kind of movement and when, what muscles are actually overactivated and which ones are underactivated, and how can we create a sensory diet? How can we create a home program that is easy to implement? And this is where in my practice I've shifted over the years, is I used to give parents, do these 3 exercises, over the next week, thinking 3 was like nothing. And almost every week they'd come back and say, no, we didn't do it. No, we didn't do it. And I'm like, how do you expect your child to get better if you don't do the exercises? Versus looking at myself and going, how am I giving the prescription of exercises such that parents are not enrolled in and committed to doing the exercises? So through my practice, those are the new questions that I've asked myself. And so the fact of the matter is that when you work with the team, you can create shifts in a daily routine that are therapeutic. that don't have to be something extra that you think about. It's just built into the program. And those little shifts make all the difference in the world. And when I shifted to that, kids were getting better, and when I say better, they were, behaving in a way that worked in the classroom, that worked in the home environment. They were able to, my daughter could not sit in a chair without falling out of it. Every single night at the dinner table, we would watch her not be able to sit in a chair. And it's like, oh my gosh. I'm looking at her going, she is not comfortable in her body. She does not know how to use her body. She's not grounded in her body. And I know that what is needed in that case is really hard work, like vestibular work, proprioceptive work, and vestibular work being the work of, moving our body like head through space, and proprioceptive work and heavy work being like literally moving furniture. And she would move her bedroom set every day. Like she moved her furniture all the time. And so I knew what she needed. It wasn't until one summer that we went to a lake house, and they had access to a motorboat with a tube behind it. And she went out, and she was out there for 3 hours when a lot of the kids were coming back and forth. They were either in the boat or in the tube or on the dock. She stayed out there the whole time, whether in the boat or in the tube. Bumped around, splashed around, crashing into the water for 3 hours. That night at dinner, I bumped my husband. I was like, look at that. He's like, what? I'm like, she's sitting in her chair, quietly eating without falling out of it. I'm like, we hit the jackpot. We figured out, because I knew it was sensory work that she needed. The next thought on my head was, oh no, how am I going to recreate 3 hours of bumping around in a tube so that she can actually feel grounded? Mm-hmm. And so that third thought was, it's impossible. And the fourth thought was like, we're going to figure it out. And so, it's this tennis match in my head. So over the next few months, we tried all the things.
You haven't moved next to the lake, have you?
We did not move next to the lake. So we live by an ocean, but she was afraid of the ocean. So surfing would have been a perfect match for her, but she didn't like the ocean. She was afraid of the ocean. So that didn't work. The other thing that did it for her was snow sledding. So climbing up the mountain, getting really hot, and then sliding down, boom, boom, boom. But we live in Southern California. There's no snow. So I'm like, oh, that's not going to work. And so up until this point, I had been dead set against trampolines, because as a physical therapist, I know the injury rate that occurs on a trampoline. I know the broken bones. I know the concussions. I know all of the research on why it's not safe. And I've been working with my occupational therapy colleagues who are like, they have to be on a trampoline. And I'm like, no, they don't. And they're like, yes, they do. And so there's this back and forth of, what's more important. So then I said, okay, I think a trampoline might work, but I'm not just going to get a trampoline. We're going to do this, smart. And so there was a trampoline coach, because trampolining is an Olympic sport. They had a trampoline coach in the area. And so he's like, well, we don't do it that young, but you can try parkour. So if you've never heard parkour, it's like, oh, parkour is gymnastics without rules. It's urban gymnastics. I'm like, oh, this is right up my child's alley, because she doesn't want to follow the rules. And so we went to the parkour place, about 45 minutes away. It was worth the drive. And she loved it. And it included trampolining. And they taught her how to do it safely. And so once she had a couple of months under her belt of going there, we got a trampoline for the house. And she was on that thing for hours a day. Every time she came home from school, on the trampoline, taking a break from homework, on the trampoline. She could do the most intricate flips you've ever seen in your entire life that no one else would even consider doing unless you were in the Olympics. But she was trained to do it, and it worked. So my knowledge of what she needed, and then going through the steps of figuring out how much and how safely can we do it, because we get to have a win-win helped us finally get to that level of support for her. And she could sit in her chair at school, and she could sit in her chair at at um, at home. We got her a ball chair for school. We also got her a standing desk for school. So I mean, so we worked with the teachers to support her. She was in the back of the room so that she didn't, interfere with anybody else, but they worked with me to find what worked for her, and that was so valuable to have that partnership, knowing that the school was going to do whatever it took to support her, and we were all working together as a team.
Congratulations for figuring things out. And yeah, because that's what it is, like having the tools and knowledge from other parents, other specialists, and then actually you are the parent and you know your child. So combination of both is really powerful.
Yeah.
So one more question around this. What made you not get her diagnosed literally, like tagging her? What's the story around it? I would really love to know because many parents are coming and they're scared, like,
Yeah.
should I go for diagnosis or should I just let it be? So can you tell
Yeah.
us something about that?
I thank you for that question. We did. We went to a clinical psychologist because there were some things where her behavior was just beyond my obviously the falling out of the chair is one piece, but there were some other things where I'm like, this is beyond my pay grade. I have no idea how to handle this. So we did go to a child psychologist, and she was diagnosed with ADHD. They wanted to put her on meds, and I said, no, we're not going to put her on meds. So I'm going to figure out another way. So I had occupational therapy colleagues. So we went to an occupational therapist who, once I saw the kinds of things that she was doing, I'm like, oh, I can do this in my own clinic because I had my own clinic. I'm like, this isn't any different. So I had been working with OTs professionally, but when it's your own child, you want to have a completely different, like my experience, I wanted to have a completely different lens look at her, not just like me through a OT, but actually get diagnosed or go to get an occupational therapy evaluation. So we had that, and same thing, very much consistent with ADHD, also auditory processing disorder, also borderline autism, probably, they don't have Asperger's anymore, but high functioning autism. But when they suggested medication in the 3rd grade, I was like, no, we're not going to do a medication. So we're going to do all of the physical based treatments that we can to avoid using medication, because I want
Why?
her.
Why not? Why not medications? Like it's too easy for doctors to prescribe medicine, and children are going under medicine for like 4 years, 5 years. And some of them are saying like it's like a glasses, it's going to be there with them lifelong, and that's scary.
It is scary. And I wasn't, this is a lifelong belief of mine, and I lived it. Even as a kid, I didn't ever want to take pills or medicine because I thought, and I trusted my body to fix itself. I just needed to get out of its way. And if I took medications, it was actually masking what my body was telling me. And I wanted to be able to listen to my body and respond to it. And so this is just a deep seated belief for me, which is probably one of the reasons why I ended up in physical therapy, because it's one of the medical fields where you don't pop a pill to fix it. You actually need to listen and do the work, but listening and doing the work is the joy. Now I'm not saying that the choice that I made was the right one. It was the right one for us. And in learning about the different medications that were available and how they would need to go about figuring out which one worked, I was not at that point willing to go through the side effects, to go through whether this is going to work or not, when I felt like there was another answer. And so that's why not the medication. And I also understand that children need to move to learn. And so what her body was asking for was more movement. and more intense movement in order to get it. And so I didn't want to rob her body from the messages that it was sending of what it needed. It needed something different than my other two kids.
Yeah.
And we figured it out. We figured it out. Now, when she's 16 now, so we've gone through adolescence now, and she's given me permission to share about her. But we had other challenges when she hit puberty that were not as quote unquote simple. It's not the sitting in the chair. It's not simple. The learning challenge is not simple, but it got darker. And it got to the point where we did get to go on medication. But at that point, it was, we must go on medication. There is no other option. And so we did. And she was on medication for 2 years. And we weaned off of it sooner than a lot of people felt comfortable having us wean off of it. But she said she was ready. And we one of the things about being on medication is like, if you're going to be on medication, you must be in regular therapy. So the medication allowed her to do the work that she needed to do so that we could wean off. I think a lot of people use medication instead of therapy because it fixes a lot of the high level behaviors and problems that you see, but it does nothing to address what's underneath the waterline. So for me, medication was a way to break through the surface of the water so that we could do the work underneath, which wasn't going to be able to be done. But there was a rule in our house that if you're on medication, you're in therapy.
Yeah.
And so that was, and she didn't want to go to therapy anymore. I'm like, okay, so then we get to get off the meds. But in order to get off the meds, this is what gets to happen. And so we worked in partnership to get to that point. And we're still working with her, right? I mean, I'm going to work with my kids until the day they die. I mean, I just had a beautiful conversation with my 18-year-old about potentially working for our company. And she's like, yes, I want to do that. And I'm like, yes, how fun. Like, how fun for me to be able to like ask this, now if I'd asked her 4 years ago, the answer would have been hell no. But, and we'll see what this all, comes out. But I am so excited to not just be the mother of, but to be the partner of. And I'm going to go through different seasons about what that looks like.
Yeah.
But, so there's a longer answer to why not medication, because I don't want to say medication is bad. Medication is not bad. We definitely can use it, but you want to use it as part of a plan, not the plan.
Yeah. Side by side, you mean to say therapy and medication. I hope everyone is going to listen to this. Like, I really want this to come out as like many parents, they're choosing medications and not selecting the therapy, and that's very dangerous.
Well, it's what it does is the medication masks what the body is saying it needs, because our kids are not broken. Nobody's broken. Our kids are telling us what they need. Sometimes medication masks that.
Yeah.
It masks that by making behavior better in the moment so that we are now, okay, we're good. We're good. But that need is still there, and it's completely unmet by a pill. We got to do the work.
So what do you think? Just one last question.
We get to wrap it up, but yes, quick.
I just want you to focus on what do you want parents to know about physical therapy, parents of ADHD children and developmental delays children. What do you want them to know about physical therapy, especially?
It's not just movement that's important. It's the type of movement. So really ask your therapist, this is how my child is moving throughout the day. How can I enhance what they're doing to make it therapeutic so that we start really addressing the underlying challenges, whether is it, I don't feel comfortable in my body, I don't know really how to move, I avoid moving like the plague, whatever it is, or I move so much that it never seems like enough movement. Like, when is enough going to be enough? It's the type of movement that's important. And so heavy work is usually very important. And dosed vestibular work is really important, but it's not a, it's definitely something to work on with someone who's knowledgeable about it. If there's one piece of equipment that I could say would transform any parent and family's life, no matter what child you have, it's a swing. Get a swing that is not just forward, backward, but has a rotatory component to it. Your child, and have that swing be accessible to them 24/7. I can't tell you how many times my children went into the Lycra hammock swing to do crazy movements, or to just be enclosed in a space to read, gently rocking. They know how to use the swing in a way to either amp themselves up or calm themselves down. And so that has been a game changer for us. Another thing as a physical therapist is don't just assume because your child is walking, running, and jumping that they're okay. And it's not that they're not okay. It's, again, what, when, and how much. So really the dosing of it, that is important. So, for example, if you want your child to be able to sit and learn in a way that works for the teacher and the classroom, they've got to get their heart rate up and pumping for at least 20 minutes before they sit down. So PE gets to go first, right? PE at the beginning of the day, or get up early and do your exercise and workouts. And when I say heart rate up, it's 80% of max. So it's big, but it's only for 20 minutes. And they can do it however they want. It could be running, jumping, climbing, playing a sport. But and all the research shows, when you get your heart rate up to 80% for 20 minutes, your capacity for learning increases for the next 4 hours.
Wow. Wow.
And there are classrooms in this world, not in the United States, unfortunately, but in this world, where every 45 minutes of instructions is followed by 15 minutes of free play outside. No matter what the weather is, it doesn't matter how cold it is, how hot it is. 45 minutes of instruction, 15 minutes of free play. 45 minutes of instruction, 15 minutes of free play. And it works. The countries who do this have the highest levels of satisfaction and test scores. It works. Movement is essential. Let your kids move. Have them move regularly. And in our sedentary culture, like, you have to be very intentional about it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all these things. And I really want all the viewers to know about your gift. What are you gifting them?
So we haven't really talked about it much today, except for my journey. So my journey has been joyful. And so most of you know about the 5 love languages, but I bet you guys don't know about the 8 joy languages, AKA the play personalities. And so I'm gifting you a mini course and ebook and workbook on the 8 play personalities, which are also known as the joy languages, in my course called The Playful Parent. And have fun, just diving into it and creating more joy in your household and, on your journey.
Amazing.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time and your generosity of your gift and your personality and everything else. You have been a gift to our summit. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.